Hello and welcome to Renew, the show about the College of Forest Resources at Mississippi State University. The College of Forest Resources promotes and enables the conservation, management, and wise use of our renewable natural resources. I'm your host, Leslie Berger. Today's show will feature the Department of Sustainable Bioproducts, and here to represent that unit is faculty member Dr. Beth Stokes. Thank you for joining me today, Beth.
Thank you for having us, Leslie.
So sustainable bioproducts, that implies this idea of sustainability, of being able to renew, reuse natural resources. What is your role there in that department?
Well, my role in sustainable bioproducts is to investigate and to educate both our incoming undergraduate and graduate students on the use of our natural resources such as southern yellow pine, various other wood sources around the U.S. for making and upgrading products that we use every day, furniture, wood building products, construction materials, and so forth. We also investigate degradation and long-term durability of wood products like these.
Okay, well, that's a broad sweep. What is your niche within that group?
My specific niche in the group is that we do investigation of new wood products, things that have not come on the market yet or are just now coming onto the market, for their durability and their weather resistance and insect resistance. Also, since we are in the Southeast, we look at them in regards to fungal decay resistance, how well they last in a high temperature, high humidity climate.
Right, that's certainly where we are.
So that's what we look at.
Okay, what brought you on this path? It's an unusual field, perhaps. I mean, something people not have thought of.
It is a little bit unusual, of an unusual field. I like to say that in sustainable bioproducts, we can accommodate almost any interest that students have or that professionals have. My background is in biology and microbiology, and my undergraduate degrees are in biology and in environmental science. And it worked well to sort of feed into this idea of biological durability of wood, sustainability of development of natural products.
Okay, so you're looking for materials, biological solutions perhaps, or chemical solutions?
Both, yes.
To how we stop this fungal
Right,
rot,
so how we stop fungal decay, how do we stop termite infestations, how do we stop weathering or unwanted weathering of wood products when they're exposed to the elements.
Okay, well, you mentioned termites, and we were talking before the show started that I had some termites that emerged in my house at one point. And I believe we even have some pictures of termites busy doing their thing. What are some of the solutions that we have, perhaps maybe with those with a sort of environmental friendly view to preventing termites?
So one of the things we look at are the current chemical treatments that are on the market and their impact on the wood product, how they change the wood product over time. We also look at development of new chemicals. So one of the things that my lab is very interested in looking at is chemicals that come from natural sources, agricultural soils that are naturally resistant to fungal decay, or other termiticidal plants that have the properties of resisting termites, and applying those to wood products technology. So can we develop new treatments?
Right.
So that's one of the things we look at a lot in my lab.
That's really interesting. So in the minute that we have left, how do you take this information that you're learning in your research and communicate that to the students that you work with?
Oh, communicating to our students is one of the best parts about being in sustainable bioproducts, because our students work with us in such close proximity. They are involved in almost every aspect of the research. We get them writing as soon as they come in. They are in the lab daily. They're in the field. They work on pretty much every aspect of the research itself, and also they get classroom time to learn theory and basics.
Right, so you can be able to apply some of the things they're learning to a hands-on experience there in class.
Right, exactly.
Okay, well, I believe that later on we're going to get a chance to meet one of your graduate students and learn a little bit more about what she is doing. What would you say, real quick, what would you say to a student that's interested in pursuing this? Is this a career that's worthy of doing?
This is very much a career that's worthy of doing. Like I said earlier, we can accommodate almost any interest from sales and marketing to research and development to chemistry to microbiology. Any of the above. We can look at just about anything that they're interested in.
Wow.
We'll find a job.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Well, I appreciate you taking time to come and visit with us, and I look forward to learning more what your students doing. We'll be back in just a minute after a break.
The sense of place. We all have it. Often grown from deep roots in small-town communities. At Mississippi State University, our Carl Small Town Center is strengthening these ties. With nearly 40 years of making a difference, we're revitalizing communities into welcoming places to work, live, and congregate. By weaving together the best pieces of our past with modern technology and amenities, we're creating the hometowns of the future. Places where lifetime memories can be made, where you have all the things you need, along with all the things you want. Through partnerships with our communities, we're identifying improvement opportunities, recommending paths forward, and creating the plans for a better tomorrow. Discovery. It tells our history and determines our future. At Mississippi State University, we're digging deep, unlocking an understanding of our past, validating it. Middle East exploration by faculty and students is uncovering evidence that unravels ancient mysteries. Scholars have long thought of the biblical kings David and Solomon as mythological figures. Our research offers evidence that supports their existence, boosting MSU into an international league of experts on archaeology. Now we're changing the way people think about the past, opening up new possibilities of understanding for future generations. Digging deeper, learning more.
Welcome back to Renew. Joining me now is graduate student Juliana Stratton from the Department of Sustainable Bioproducts. So thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for the invitation.
So we were talking earlier to Beth Stokes about some of the work that she's doing there in sustainable bioproducts. How did you even end up in here in this department in the first place?
Well, I actually was a chemistry undergrad, and I got my BS in chemistry with the American Chemical Society certification. And then I was looking at different grad schools around where I could actually apply the knowledge of chemistry that I had gained. And one of the other grad students at the chemistry department said that if I was interested in doing that, that sustainable bioproducts might be the way to go. I think we were in the transition between forest products at that time with the name change. But I decided that since they were doing a lot of environmental work that I was interested in, and a lot of new product development, which was also something I was interested in, that was probably the best way for me to go for a graduate degree.
Right, because you were looking for something that was more applied as opposed to theoretical
right.
or instruction.
I was looking more into getting an industry job with R&D or as an environmental manager. So I actually got my master's in 2016 with environmental concentration. I did a lot of work with monitoring pentachlorophenol ratings in a very old site that were still under remediation.
Okay, so I think we had some pictures that we might be able to show here in just a little bit of some of that monitoring. So give me some background on that. You mentioned that these were some chemicals that had been in the ground for a long time, got there through some industrial contamination.
The contamination occurred when utility poles were being treated with pentachlorophenol, and this happened before we understood the environmental impacts of that particular chemical. And they were allowed to drip dry on a concrete pad and basically be absorbed into the soil. Once the environmental impacts were understood, the site underwent a series of remediations over 15 to 20 years, I believe. It's currently been under remediation for about 2 decades, and it has undergone multiple reiterations of different remediations, such as phytoremediation using cotton poplar hybrid trees.
So the trees are actually able to
Yeah.
remove the contamination out of the soil.
They remove the contamination out of the soil, and they're very good about holding it into the trees themselves. Then we also did air sparging and biosparging, which is essentially an injection of air and biological nutrients into the soil, so that the soil can naturally try and remediate a little bit faster than it would occur naturally. And then the latest round, which was part of when I was doing the work at the site, was something called ISCO, which is in situ chemical oxidation. They would actually pump hydrogen peroxide into the ground in hopes that the oxygen radicals would cause it to degrade the pentachlorophenol.
Right. So this sounds like a lot of effort over a long period of time to
Right.
remove this contamination from the
Right.
soil. So what I heard from Dr. Stokes, and what maybe I understand from what you're trying to do, is how can we keep wood from rotting in using materials that perhaps don't leave such a footprint on the
Right.
ground as the past chemical that was used on those utility poles?
Well, one of the things you have to look at is the reason that the chemicals in the past have been so effective is because they are so termiticidal. They're
Sure.
made to create a little bit of havoc in the biological systems of these invading bodies. So one of the things we're looking at right now is natural alternatives. There's a plant called the Waiuli plant, which actually has been known to have some termiticidal properties within its resin and some of its leaves. And so we're actually trying to incorporate that into some of the wood products
That's amazing.
to try and make something that's a little more biological friendly. It's something that is created in nature and is found in nature in those levels,
Right.
but it also might help us prolong the life of wood.
Right. That's amazing. So where do you see yourself in, say, 5 years when you finish this degree?
I would like to see myself in industry. I would like to see myself either in result or R&D research, or potentially in a federal lab doing research for research and development type of things.
Okay.
Also, again, my master's was in more of an environmental concentration, so I'd like to go into an environmental position as well. I'm very open. It's one of the greatest things about this field is that even though I have this R&D research and this environmental research, there's a multitude of jobs that I can actually go into
Right.
for any particular company.
Right, and you can serve both industry versus conservation too. So well, I really, it was very fascinating, and I appreciate you coming by and visiting with us. And then I hope our viewers out there were able to learn some more about the Department of Sustainable Bioproducts and to learn a little bit more about what Mississippi State is doing to promote the conservation of our resources using a variety of ways. And so I thank you for taking time and visiting us. I hope that you will come back again. And in the meantime, I hope that you can find some time to get outside and enjoy the resources that are around us. I've been your host, Leslie Berger, and thank you.